Now, we're following new polling that shows Donald Trump's hold over the Republican base is as strong as ever. In the latest CBS News YouGov survey, the former president has 62% of support from likely GOP primary voters, 46% clear of his closest challenger. And among those likely Trump voters, the poll shows they trust the former president even more than their own loved ones. Let's put a frame around that. They trust the former president more than they trust their own loved ones. 71% say they feel what Trump tells them is the truth, ahead of friends and family at 63%. Conservative media figures at 56%, and a religious leader at 42%.
All right, so this weekend, Mika and I, last night, were having a conversation around the table, and Mika was just asking how could people still be so slavishly devoted to Donald Trump? And, you know, it's important to say here, we weren't talking about. She didn't ask how could people vote for Republicans. She understands how people can vote Republican. She wasn't saying, oh, I don't understand. And we weren't saying we don't understand how, you know, somebody could be pro-life. We weren't saying we don't understand how people we know could have maybe a more expansive view of the Second Amendment than the Supreme Court even. We weren't talking about issues or socials. It was, again, not related to Republicans or conservatism. We certainly understand what people might be turned off on the left and some of the extremes on the left. This was about Donald Trump. How could people support Donald Trump? And the question just kept coming up, and there were really no good answers, except, you know, the question is it a cult? Is it a cult? I mean, you look at it, Charlie, you look at the definition, cult leaders. I just saw this on Google off the top. Cult leaders must be dynamic, charismatic, and convincing because their goal is to control their members to acquire money or power-related advantages. These characteristics are crucial because a cult leader needs his members to strictly adhere to his teachings and doctrines. Well, the funny thing there is it doesn't really fit there because Donald Trump doesn't really have any teaching or doctrine other than follow me blindly. But think about it, Charlie. I mean, how twisted it is, just generally, that in America, people follow a political leader. Like we always ask the questions, why do people have flags of a politician? Trump people might be proud about that. No, that's nothing to be proud about. Politicians serve us. We don't wave flags for them. But these numbers, 71% follow Trump, trust Trump explicitly. 63% trust their friends and family. So Mika was saying, well, wait a second. These people know us. They talk to us. They share our values in so many ways. We've known them for years.
Their children.
And their children play with our children. And we know these people. Why wouldn't they sit around the table and talk to this community? And you look at that number, they trust a politician, a failed reality TV talk show host who has been indicted because of what he did with porn star, who's been indicted for trying to steal election, which they know he tried to steal the election. I think they must be happy that he tried to steal the election. They've heard the tapes. And then conservative media figures, people go, oh, it's because they watch Fox. It's because they watch Fox. Well, no, now Trump members are attacking Fox News. And then this is the most shocking thing coming from the evangelical church. Nearly 30% more people blindly follow their cult leader, Donald Trump, than their own religious leaders. That's please, don't tell me about how this is a Jesus thing. It's not a Jesus thing. It's a cult thing when 30% more blindly follow Trump than listen to religious leaders. I think this is one of the most revealing polls in quite some time to answer the question, why do people blindly follow Trump? And I don't know what a definition exactly of a cult is. I read it on Google, and a lot of those things certainly line up. This though is bizarre. Let's just focus on that 30% more blindly follow Trump and trust this politician than they trust their own religious leaders, despite everything that he has done.
No, it is a cult, and I'm really glad you're featuring this, Joe, because this was the number that I was looking at last night as I was preparing for the week. If you had any doubt that the Republican base has become this hermetically sealed alternative reality, just look at those numbers. And it also, it is hard to get your head around, that degree of slavish devotion. And the question there was, who do you believe is going to tell you the truth? And you have more than 70%. Name someone who is probably the worst chronic liar in American political history. But it is the contrast. When you have 30% more saying that we believe that Trump tells us the truth rather than religious leaders. I mean, this explains, I think David French made this point yesterday, this explains why the religious objections to Donald Trump are not going to land, and why it's probably beyond the capability at this point of church leaders to say, no, this is just the wrong direction for us to go. But this is a pretty good example, and this is a pretty good example between this, the CBS poll, showing that he's above 60% now, despite all of these indictments. I think we have a picture here. But again, how do you break through that? How do you do this? It is a fever that has not come close to breaking.
Well, and one of the reasons why you can't break through is if you ask why, and you actually try and literally have a conversation, you say, I need to understand why you feel this way. What was the fact-based event that leads you to this conclusion? And you won't even finish that. They'll go, stop, don't even want to talk about it. I will not talk about it. That is what I got last night. And that is a cult, when you don't even want to talk about it because you believe what you believe, even though deep inside it may not be true. You don't care. You follow blindly. Well, you don't want to talk about it.
Following blindly. I mean, again, we don't know what it exactly. We'll let people much smarter than us, Katty K, decide what a cult is and what a cult is. And we haven't studied it through the years. I will say, though, as somebody that went to Baptist church and, not a good Baptist, just like not a good lawyer, falling off turnip trucks left and right. But I did know the Bible. I did read the Bible. I was, my parents had me in church 3 or 4 times a week. So, none of this lines up with everything we were taught growing up. I'm talking about evangelicals, conservative Catholics. None of it lines up. And so I've been asking myself, and people like Russell Moore have been asking themselves, and other people, Beth Moore, have been asking themselves, so what's going on with our faith? What's going on with our tribe? What's going on with our church? And the answer is that these pastors, for the most part, are bending to the will of their parishioners because they know what we saw in this poll, that if they say you have to choose between Jesus Christ and this church and Donald Trump, they'll pick Donald Trump. And they do every day.
Yeah, despite all of the stories that we've had about his personal life, and we saw this in 2016 with the Access Hollywood tape, when that came out, and what he said about women, and thinking, well, perhaps that was going to be the line that evangelical Christians who'd been supporting him would come up against and say, well, actually, you know what, I just can't go there. And they didn't. And there was a sort of, the deal that Donald Trump did when he called in evangelical leaders into his campaign during the 2016 campaign and said, listen, you overlook this and I will give you exactly what you want. And it was a kind of pact, a Faustian pact that was made that they felt benefited them. But this polling suggests something else. It suggests that there is a real belief. This is not a transactional bargain where they look the other way. This is actually, we do now believe that Donald Trump is going to be the person that will tell us the truth. And it's the remarkable thing about him that he's managed to stir up such incredible, strong feelings. We used to say Republicans fell in line and Democrats fell in love. Well, in this case, it's Trump supporters have fallen very in love and Democrats who are kind of in line behind their presidential candidate.